Hey, board gamers, BJ Board Game Gumbo here, back with another episode of Gumbo Live. It's episode number 130, Gumbo Live, the #1 Facebook Live talk show in the Merovingian dynasty dedicated to board gaming. Our special guest tonight, Dan Thurot of space-biff. It's a review blog that I've been following for a while, so I am super excited to have him on the show. In fact, I'm a little bit nervous, to tell you the truth. He's a better reviewer than I am, and it's going to be fun to talk to him about reviewing tonight. Board Game Gumbo, a proud member of Punchboard Media. Hey, check out some of our other fine members, like Wheel Tapping. Hey, do you like 18xx games? Have I got a show for you? Wheel Tapping is Chris Whitpan and Tony Fryer. They discuss a different 18xx game every episode. They break down gameplay. They even bring expert players to talk strategy with you. If you're curious about 18xx games or you're a longtime fan, make sure you check it out. You'll find something in every show. Catch the fever of Wheel Tapping. Punchboard Media, where we all bring something to the table. Before we start, a couple of quick show notes. Having a little bit of audio problems tonight. I apologize in advance. We're going to do the best we can. We've got that swamp gas hitting us right now. Also, we've got our first ever Gumbo merchandise. Check out our Game Crafter link, which you can see right there on the screen, to get a copy of your very own Board Game Gumbo Blu-ray deck with instructions on the gameplay. You hear us talking about Blu-ray all the time. We've got the instructions inside the deck so you can learn this really nasty bidding game. It's really mean, but a lot of fun, and we play it down here in Louisiana. Carlos did an awesome job. Check out the premium deck of cards we have on the site. Hit us up on social media tonight, on Twitter, on Facebook, at Board Game Gumbo, or on YouTube on our YouTube channel, and we'll be looking for your questions in the chat crew. But enough blather. Let's get right to our special guest. It's Dan Thurot of space-biff, the world's first and only written board game review site. Not really, but Dan, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thank you so much, BJ.
Dude, it is awesome to have you here. I'm super excited. I've actually been wanting you on the show for a while. I was glad we were finally able to hook up and talk about it. But there may be some people, one or two, that are not familiar with the Merovingian dynasty, if I'm saying it right, and don't know what the space-biff is. So here's your chance. Give us the elevator pitch. Who is Dan Thurot, and what is space-biff?
Well, the Merovingian dynasty is a Frankish dynasty, and space-biff is the site that I write kind of half-heartedly, in which I write about board games for some reason. I've been writing it for something like 8 years now, I think 9 years. And that's pretty much it. That's about as exciting as I get.
That's space-biff. And space-biff has a couple of things that people always ask me about when I tell them about. First, the picture that we used for our promos this week was not actually a picture of Dan Thurot, I've been told. Is that right?
That is true. It's my background is in religious history. And so I teach religious history. And so it's a picture of St. Thomas Aquinas, because I've been told I look like him depending on the angle. Mostly because he was bald. So
no, I get that all the time too. Any person with less hair or almost bald, they're like, oh, you look just like that person. Yeah. From one angle. I totally get what it is. Hey, Dan, it's a live show. We got some people checking in already. Look. The No Cube Zone. Jordan's the first one checking in. Says, "Woo, made it on the show tonight." Usually they're recording, so Jordan is always late, but that is awesome to have him here. Topher checking in, and Topher's actually going to be doing a contest tonight. Dan, let me tell you all about it. Topher's got an extra copy of Sprawlopolis, and also is it Turbo Drift or Tokyo Drift? No, Turbo Drift. With the ramped up games. You know both of those games.
Yeah.
All right. Quick elevator review.
Okay. Well, Turbo Drift, I can't be very objective because I actually am friends with Rob Kramer, the designer. But it's if you've ever played X-Wing, the miniatures game, it's a little like that, except a racing game where you put out little things that show you the direction you'll race. And then Sprawlopolis is a great 18 card little city builder where you're building toward combos and stuff. It's good. Yeah, those are both good micro games.
Our friend Steve talks about it all the time, the name father, Sprawlopolis. So Topher's going to give away a copy tonight, and this is the contest, Chat Krewe. We're going to talk about it a lot, so Chat Krewe, pay attention. This is the rules. All you have to do is, Dan's a world traveler. He's a historian. He loves, places from all over the world. He's excited by those. You name a city that you think Dan would like to visit. And if you're right, Dan's going to
Ooh.
pick the best one tonight. Oh, Dan. So we're going to see how that works. So
Exciting.
everybody check those out. Marshall Wells, who's the leader of the Sinlaw group right from up north, he's saying, check it out, Marshall. You can throw Alexandria, Louisiana in there, but I don't know if Dan's going to pick it. You might want to go more exotic than thing. Patrick Newman's checking in, the lefty rider down in Galveston. Have you been to Galveston, Dan? Is that exotic to you?
No, I have not been there. So that would count as exotic.
Oh, think about it, Patrick. Think about it. Throw those in there. And he says, go Army, sink Navy. I have 2 Marine sons. You know how I feel about that one, Patrick. Sorry about that. Oh, we also have Berla checking in. Berla's going to be running the Chat Krewe tonight. So Chat Krewe, if you've got any guesses for Topher's game, let's get those started. Hey, this is a board game show. We like to talk board games, though, Dan. We do like contests, but we like to talk board games. From video to written to audio, space-biff seems to cover it all. Is there any place you haven't gone yet that you want to go? Are you going to become the Clovis the First of board gaming?
That's a great question. Probably not. I don't have a Childeric as a father, so that my dad is a Bert, so that's out. That's a good question. No, I think sometimes I'm the least ambitious person in the entire industry.
You're the second least ambitious person.
Are you the first?
Go ahead. I'm probably the first. Go ahead.
So just in the sense that, I see a lot of people make the transition where, what you really want to do is a podcast, or what you really want to do is a video series, or what you really want to do is be a designer. I don't want to design games. I don't want to be on video. I do run a podcast.
Other than tonight.
Yeah. I wish I weren't. I was considering wearing a mask just to confound everybody.
I could put you in audio only if you really want to, but that's
no. Well, now we've taken the plunge. Okay. So no, I'm pretty happy with what I'm doing. I just love writing about board games. For me, that's what the hobby is it's more about critically evaluating board games than even playing them. Though, of course, playing them is a step toward that. So can't dispense with that. But
so we can't expect the space-biff Tower whole network to start anything.
No, if Dice Tower were to reach out tomorrow, I would probably have to tell them no. I don't have anything to offer.
Speaking of potential no's, Jordan says Omaha, Nebraska is his guess. Exotic enough?
I've never been to Omaha, and Counting Crows has a great song entitled Omaha.
It does. It's the theme of the College World Series, and I went to Omaha in 2000 to watch the World Series there. By the way,
really?
fun fact about Omaha, you can eat off the streets. It's so clean there. You can literally throw your food on the ground. When one of the restaurants we had ran out of plates, we just threw it right on the ground. Well, we didn't, but that we thought about it. Super clean, clearly. And Mick and Starla, our friends from Our Family Plays Games, by the way, Steve, I got it. I'm representing tonight. Our Family Plays Games. They're also from Omaha, so we'll see if we have more than one vote. So Omaha is exotic, Jordan. It sounds like it's in the running for Dan, potentially. So one of the things, I always do a little bit of research, Dan, and I like to check out some stuff. And I saw some very interesting videos that you're probably very proud of when you were the sole correspondent for SaltCon back in 2013 and 2014.
Yes.
Some tremendously engaging videos that it was my kind of humor. So I just loved. I do have a question though. Why are they slipping so far down on your list of best conventions? It looks like an amazing convention.
It's all right, and it's been getting better. So that was 100% a joke. I don't think I have ever been to another Mountain West board game convention. Okay. What happened with those videos was we just had the idea. Let's just interview people as though we were important, which of course we're not.
I love that.
And the first year we just grabbed an actual camcorder, not even a phone. Like we had which is worse than a phone, right? And so we grabbed some camcorder and we just went, and you could hear the background noise. You could barely hear us talking to the designers and stuff. So the next year we did take a microphone. My favorite story from that is actually I snubbed Ryan Lockett half on accident, and I told him I would take it out. What happened was I said, "Hey Ryan, I'm glad we had you on the show," and then I turned to shake his hand, and at the last minute I pulled away as he reached out his hand, and
Oh
it was
yeah.
just so awkward that I had to keep it in, even though I told him I would cut it out.
That part is like watching an episode of The Office where Michael and Jim are messing up the handshake. It was like,
Yeah,
it was pretty awkward there. It's pretty funny.
yeah,
And you're one of the first people to clarify his last name, because for years people called him Lawcat, but you got him to say it, to pronounce it the right way. I'm glad you made him pronounce it the right way.
Hard-hitting journalism.
It was. Hey, we got a couple other shows. Look, you don't have cities. You don't have to pick your own city. You can name other cities, but people are enjoying their cities. So Patrick says Galveston. You and I talked about that one. But Marshall says, what about anywhere in Louisiana? It's got the best food and a retro arcade. Now, Marshall, that probably appeals to Dan. A retro arcade?
Sure, yeah. Do you know Tim Fowers?
I don't know him, but I know the games. Yeah,
Fowers
sure.
Games. Yeah. So for his birthday, he invites people. We didn't do it this year, I don't think. I don't know why, but to an arcade, and we all play Killer Queens.
I don't know that one.
I think you just play as bees.
Okay.
Attacking. I'm not good at it, so don't expect me to describe it. But yeah, an arcade that has a certain appeal. I feel like I can find an arcade here.
This is a retro arcade, though. It's all the old games from the 80s and 90s, and they throw them up there. You can play them all night.
Okay.
All right. It's I don't know if it's first, but right now it's in the top 3, Marshall. It's in the top 3. I'm feeling it, at least. Maybe. So Topher, I have no idea what this is. Do you have any idea what he's talking about here? Because I thought he was doing the police at first.
I don't. Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's the
Mana.
It's the ABC song from Sesame Street. Manana. Do 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 do. I don't know what the reference is, Topher. You're gonna have to help us out on that one.
Is that
Nick
from
says,
somewhere?
Nick says Killer Queen sounds like a Freddie Mercury button smasher. I like it. All right. So yeah, Lawcat. That's right. All right. So last topic I wanted to talk to you about. I was very interested in your announcement and your plug, and you were the first person that I saw plugged it, and then now I've seen it in other parts of social media. But I want you to tell the chat crew something about the Zenobia Awards announcement and what your role is going to be. What are the Zenobia Awards? Because, in certain corners, it's not getting a lot of pub, and I think we need to get some more publicity about it.
Sure. So the Zenobia Award is an award that's going to be put on by some pretty big names in the war game sphere of the hobby. So you might recognize Volko Ruhnke is one of them, Harold Buchanan, people who have designed a lot of games for GMT games.
Sure.
And what they're looking
did
for,
the first coin game, if I remember right?
Yes.
Isn't that what he's known for? Yeah.
Yeah, and he's had an active hand in the development of quite a few of them, I believe. And what they're doing is they've pointed out that, the hobby tends to be, at least here in the United States and in the UK, there's a certain demographic that it tends to attract and foster. And so what they're looking for is they're looking for a little bit of a different perspective. So they're looking for underrepresented groups. And one of the things that's cool about it is I actually think award is a little bit of a misnomer. What excites me about it is really that there's a mentorship. So if you come from a background where maybe you have wanted to design a historical board game and you feel, maybe no one will listen to you. Maybe that's something that you don't have the confidence to do. What you can do is you can pitch it to the Zenobia Award, and they are going to pick a certain number of people who basically you get 6 months of mentorship with somebody inside the industry. So I'm volunteering with them, and that's what I am going to be doing is pairing up with somebody for a mentorship, and hopefully it will get some people into the industry and into the hobby who otherwise wouldn't feel comfortable breaking in. So I think it's a great initiative, and I hope we get some games out of it. Apparently they've already had a few submissions, so that's pretty exciting. But yeah, that's the gist.
Yeah, I was going to see if I can get it up there. Yep, I think I've got it. Let me see if I can pull that up for you. So Chat Krewe, we're talking about the Zenobia Award right here. Is that right?
Yep.
historical board games enjoyed by people from all walks of life. So basically, what I liked about this is there's a lot of yelling on Facebook, on Twitter, and all the sides, and a lot of it is passion for good reasons. But this was more about opening doors, fostering, and mentoring people. That whole mentoring angle, and I love that idea because some people shy away from conflict, and some people shy away from the public sphere. Yet they have an interest in an area of games that we would all agree is underrepresented by people of color, by women, by other walks of life. So I love this idea, and I'm happy to promote it on the shows. The Zenobia Award. Is there a deadline for this coming up?
So I think that the application process goes through. Is it January? So
yeah,
I'm not on. Yeah, I'm not on that part of the thing. I'm not on the board, so I won't be doing any judging. It's been kind of interesting, just the response. For the most part, people have been pretty enthusiastic about it. I have had a number of emails where people are saying it's racist in the same way that affirmative action, which is kind of fun that someone thinks we're going to resolve that discussion through a few
on
emails.
Twitter?
Yeah,
right.
On Twitter.
Or emails, right.
But I think it's pretty positive. Some of the people who I've reviewed their games, one example would be Erin Lee Escobedo, for instance, the designer of Meltwater, has talked about that she, as a trans woman, had a lot of trouble getting publishers to listen to her pitches. And her game was eventually published and was actually critically celebrated. But it got published because it was published by another trans woman. So this initiative in part is just to try to get some new voices into that part of the hobby. I couldn't be more excited. I think it's going to be great.
ZenobiaAward.org. Chat Krewe, check that out and give it some support or give it some publicity. I haven't seen a lot of people talking about it, but I have seen you, Dan, and kudos to you for getting the word out. Opening doors. That's what in Punchboard Media. That's what we talk about. Bringing more people to the table. So this looks like an award or a mentorship program, as you say, about bringing people to the table. So I love that. Hey, let's bring in my friend Steve, the name father, checking in so we can talk about some games because, Dan, this is a board game show. We like talking about board games, right?
Hi, Steven.
Hey, Dan.
Steve,
how
welcome
you doing?
to the show, man.
I'm well. Good to be with you. I'm doing okay.
BJ from More Game Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Dan Thurot from space-biff. We're talking spicy hot games, and one of the ones I was excited that you put on the show notes was a game that I got to play from Rio Grande Games. It seems like maybe the return of Rio to the big Euros that we grew up when we got into the hobby, and that's Beyond the Sun. Dan, you played this, right?
I have played this like 6 times.
Give us the elevator pitch. What is Beyond the Sun?
Oh man, that's a good question. To me, Beyond the Sun is a tech tree. So the game, it's about exploring space and colonizing planets, but its approach, lots of these games have technology in them, but what this one is it's built around, and there it is right there on the picture. It's built around a technology tree. So as you play, you research technologies, and those technologies unlock actions that you can take and give you bonuses, and they let you research more technologies. And one thing I'm really liking about it, I don't know if this is the case for you, BJ. So you've played it?
Yes, I played it twice.
You've played it twice. So one of the things I love about it is you really don't research everything. I think the most
especially if you're like me, you don't research everything.
Yeah.
Or you don't get a chance to.
Yeah, I love that. I've reached the 4th level, I think, most games, but I've never researched more than one level 4 tech, and they can really transform how the game feels. So I'm really digging it. I wasn't sure how I would feel about it. It has a lot of negative space. Maybe the graphic design isn't super exciting, but it's very crisp.
This board right here, it's just so plain, though. Dang,
it's very
Dan,
light.
It's just so plain. And I will tell you, when we got our copy in, the front cover was like, so exciting here, going beyond the sun, you're going to explore. Yeah. And then we put the board on the table, and we took the player boards, and we're like, oh no, is this going to be one of these spreadsheet Phil Eklund type games? But Dan, it didn't turn out to be that at all. This is yes, it's Euro the Euro game or Euro the tech game, as you said, tech tree game. But it is so exciting, and maybe it's, even though it's a small part of the game, see if I can find it. This part. I love the actual space exploration, especially when we got to play it with 3 players. It was even better. We got Jay Bell to come in, and me, Jay, and Bradley played, and it played so much different at 3 than it did at 2 that I just can't wait for this pandemic to be over so I can get 4 people around the table again.
Oh yeah.
Crowding around this board. In this configuration, we were on different corners of a giant 8-foot by 12-foot table, so we're pretty far apart. I think this game is 4 people crouched around a board, moving pieces against each other, watching what Dan's doing as he goes up the tech tree, because I need to get some of those techs myself, right?
Yeah. We have been fortunate. We have a housemate, so we've been able to play it with 4. And the only downside is it's a bit of a table hog. So this is one of those games that we have had people standing up, and you put your hands on the table and really lean over it, just so that you can see all of the cool stuff that everybody else is doing. Because there's so much going on. Sometimes somebody will research something and you can tell they're excited about it. They're jumping all over the place. And then, you don't know why, because the card is so far away.
I got so close in both games to getting that 4th tech tree. I feel like if I had gotten the fourth level, I would have felt like I won, even if I didn't win, because it just feels so satisfying to get there. But I will say this, you kind of hinted at something earlier. Although the board itself is nothing spectacular, the player boards are a little blah. The crispness of the graphic design, I heard somebody complain about the graphic design. I have 0 complaints about the graphic design. In other words, iconography, Dan, we picked up the iconography in seconds. Yeah,
it's very intuitive. That's one of the things I like about it. I actually think that this is a good example of a board game where its lack of too much, it's a selling point, right? You do not want this to be too cluttered. I love being able to look across the table, and even though everything is miniature, you can pretty much tell what things will do right when you look at them. You don't have to sit there and evaluate them. You don't have to look past artwork. I think this. I don't want more art on this one.
Steve, does this interest you a little bit beyond the
It's
sun?
interesting hearing you talk about its uncluttered nature being a feature rather than a bug. And it sounds like a lot of folks might be criticizing it for its aesthetics, but you're saying the not getting in the way lets mechanics really come through.
It's kind of refreshing, right, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, so take this game and just the amount of visual information that it wants you to process, and now put a watermark of technology on every card. How are you going to read this game, especially with how much space it takes up? That tech tree is huge. So I think you showed like the little planet board where you explore, and the player board. Those are already full size things. The board itself is like 3 times bigger.
Steve, this is a regular board game size board, and the main, that's not the main board. That's the small board.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, that's a sideboard.
Yeah, that's just the sideboard. I do love that explorer mechanic, and I didn't realize how much deeper you get into the exploration when you play 3 versus 2. The two-sided board is kind of limited. It's this is really nice. I'll tell you, I'm a huge fan. In fact, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to stop the show and maybe the 3 of us just find it on TTS somewhere and just play. Because this is one of those games. If I were doing the ENVIE game, Steve, you could name Beyond the Sun, and you'd guess it on the first try.
Do these different modular parts, exploration, tech, do they come together as a whole? How do they? Or I'm seeing a lot of different boards, a lot of different places. Does it unify?
Dan?
It does a lot better than I was expecting when I first broke it out. So, I mean, the player board right there that BJ has up, you can see you've got tracks that you're going to be spending a lot of time making the sideboard. You're going to be spending a lot of time trying to put down outposts and colonies specifically to put out those little plants and those little gears, because those are going to let you produce the resources and workers you need to continue exploring. So things are moving between the 3 boards. It feels very alive in that respect. Your little workers, so they're dice. You never roll them, as far as I know. I think there's maybe one event that you roll them.
I did roll, and I was very excited. I got this event card that you had to roll you had to roll a dice, and whatever came out, that's what your spaceship was. So that was kind of exciting.
So it's cool because those are, them being dice is actually super efficient because you don't need a bunch of tokens. So one side is supply, one side is your worker, and then it becomes ships of different strengths. So what you do is, you take it off your board when it's a supply and it becomes a worker. Then you can put your worker out here to work on something to become a tech, or flip it over, it becomes a ship of a different strength and flies around. So they do matter, it's a representation of kind of your total manpower, your investment. And yeah, I think it fits together surprisingly well.
Interesting.
It's our first multi-use dice. It's not the first, of course. Games like Coimbra have done it before, but it's multi-use dice in that there's a couple of the really juicy decisions where I was down to one dice in my little thing, and I had to decide, am I sending it this way, sending it that way? Because you knew then you had to bring more dice off your player board to get, I forget what the term is called when you're trying to get them ready. I just love it. It's a combination of trying to build out on that tech tree that I'm showing, trying to explore, or determining how much you want to explore, because that's one way of scoring points, or determining how much you want to build your engine off your player board. You could play this, I think, as just a straight engine builder. Sit back, build up that engine, and then hope that you have enough turns to attack the tech tree or attack the space board. But I think the better strategy would be doing a little bit of all of it at the same time, which Steve is a tough juggle to do.
To synergize that's got to be difficult.
Yeah. The mark of a good gamer when you can juggle all those things. So the two games that we played with a total of 5 players, the 2 and the 3. I've seen multiple strategies being performed, from my terrible ones all the way to Bradley's amazing ones. So Dan, are you seeing the same thing, that there doesn't seem to be one way of playing the game? You can kind of do what you want in this game?
I would agree. And some of that is that it makes a decision that was not uncommon in older Euro games, but has sort of fell out of favor, which is just luck. So what happens is when you research, you have a little choice where
Dan, you're breaking Joel Lewis.
I'm sorry,
Come
Joel.
on, man.
I'm sorry, Joel. This game stinks. It's for losers. Only dweebs play Beyond the Sun.
Terrible graphics. Terrible gameplay, Joel.
Pathetic weaklings.
Stay away, Joel.
But one of the things I do like is that when you research a tech, you actually draw. And there's some direction to that. It's not entirely random. Like you might be looking for a specific type of technology, but you draw it at random. So there's this sense of discovery, which, in this era where we play Civ games like Sid Meier's Civilization might seem counterintuitive, but that's really the way that scientific inquiry functions, isn't it? You accidentally discover penicillin. You don't go in expecting to, get rid of bacteria. That's just something that it's weird. It's wild. That's how inquiry, or you invent Viagra on accident. There's all sorts of things that we didn't go in anticipating. And I love that it does that. So there is some discovery, and it does make every game feel different. We've had games that were just all out space warfare. And then we've had games where the colonizing portion of the game was really a sideshow, where it didn't matter all that much.
Hey, Steve, take a note. Dan says Beyond the Sun is the Viagra penicillin of board games.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I took from this long discussion. That's the only thing I could focus on. Before we switch off of Beyond the Sun, Patrick wants to know about this town, and I'm not even going to try. Dan, have you been here? Are you interested in this town?
I am intrigued by the pronunciation of it. Gotebo.
Right. Patrick, we're saying Gotebo. Let us know if that's the right way to pronounce it.
I'm curious. Patrick went in a different direction. I thought someone was going to try to trump Galveston and Omaha.
He's going the other way.
He's egged.
Right.
It's interesting to have my exotic vacation destination of choice be Omaha at this point.
Leader in the clubhouse.
So far, the leader is Omaha with Gotebo, Oklahoma. When we designed this game in the pre-show, Steve, this is not exactly what we thought. We thought people were going to be throwing out Bangkok or Paris or Malorga, but no, we're getting some unusual choice.
To immediately start doing some research on the Merovingian dynasty and try to find some locations of interest for Dan.
Yeah. And, Paris.
Please.
I threw out some hints there, didn't I, Steve? I threw out some hints. So it's Gotebo. Now, Gotebo, Oklahoma, I've actually heard of, Dan. I don't know why. We must have gone to a Boy Scout camp near there because I recognize that name, Gotebo. So Jordan's not going to give us any other names because he wants to win. So, all right, Chat Krewe. Just as a reminder, the game we're playing with Dan tonight, before we get to the big game at the end, is our friend Topher Graves has a copy of Sprawlopolis and a couple other games, Turbo Drift, with the ramped up expansion, and that includes. Am I saying it right? Turbo Drift. Oh boy. Yep. But Topher's going to give that away to anybody that can convince Dan to take a vacation at an exotic location like Omaha or Godin, Oklahoma. All right, so we're getting closer. He says Paris, Texas. The old joke among Texans. Okay?
Kelly's on board.
She's got
Ketchikan.
Ketchikan?
Oh, Kelly, I would love to go to Alaska.
Ooh.
Now, is Ketchikan, is that a good town, or is that like Knoll, Alaska, where everyone, you know?
I've never been to Alaska.
They've got Alaska connections, so I'm thinking Kelly's not going to steer you wrong when she's sending you to the north.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to consider this Alaska proposal.
So Alaska now might be the leader in the clubhouse.
I've never been to Alaska.
BJ for Game Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Dan Thurot, better known as space-biff online. He does reviewing, and we're talking spicy hot games with Steve. One of the games I've been trying to talk about on the show for the last couple of weeks. I don't think you've played it, Dan. It's called Caretos, and it's from Meebo Games, all the way from Portugal. Have you played Caretos?
No, it looks fascinating just on that cover.
Oh, I'm stumping. Okay,
is it pronounced Caretos?
Caretos, like tush, Caretos.
Why the sh? Like how Inish is Inish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I watched a video. I didn't know because this is a company from Portugal, and I was doing the Essen pre-show with Paul Grogan, and he said make sure one of the games is something that don't just name Uwe Rosenberg's new game. Let's come up with some new games. Yeah. And this cover, literally, I picked the game based on the cover because I was like, look at this cover and look at this name. So I watched the video, and the owner of the company, Meebo, was very careful to pronounce it. And he said, this is how you pronounce it because we know people are going to struggle with it. It's Caretos. And it's like a tosh almost, Caretos. And what this game is, I'm going to give you the elevator pitch. It is Monsters, Inc. in Portugal. So if you like the show Monsters, Inc., Mike and Sully, right? Mike and Sully had to go out, scare people to generate energy for the town. This is legends in the northern part of Portugal. I'm instantly intrigued because part of my family is the De Silva family, all the way from Lisboa. And so instantly I was like, oh, wow, northern Portugal, I want to hear about it. There's these legendary creatures that inhabit the spaces between the northern villages. And when the villages go from village to village, they whisper among each other to make sure they build a nice campfire. That's where those black tokens are. Gather in groups. Because if you go out solitary, you disappear. Now, in this game, they don't die, of course, Dan. They just go to a sanctuary for human beings, right? Where the Caretos can pay $5 and get some popcorn and maybe some Roman candy and watch it. So that's the board. It's a beautiful, colorful board. This is one of the examples of, and these are actual Portuguese legends that they've incorporated into the game. You play as these legends. And here's what makes it different. Yes, this is a family weight game. It's a family level game. Think Turn-in Taxis or Ticket to Ride, a little bit more than Ticket to Ride, of course. But here's the difference. Imagine if one of those simple games gave you two unique characters, each with special powers. And those special powers are triggered by the colored cards you play. Very simple to remember, red, yellow, and blue. You play the red card that round, you get to do the red action. Play the yellow card that round, you get to do the yellow action. Nice and simple. You only have 3 cards in your hand, so the decision tree is pretty easy. But what if, there's Jay Bell playing, what if you play a red card and it's got that cool symbol at the top, that little exclamation point? And then next turn you play a yellow card and it's got that same symbol at the top. Guess what, Dan? You get to play both of your monsters on that turn.
Ooh.
Now, again, limited. This is a family, so the most you can chain up is 2 actions back to back. But how fun is that, trying to plan out, man, I really want to play this powerful action on this blue card, but wow, my red and yellow cards match up. If I play them both back to back, I'm going to get to play 2 actions. What am I doing on the board? Mainly what you're doing on the board is moving those monsters around, trying to grab the villagers, trying to separate them out, and then wherever they're singles, run right over them, snap them up, and score points on them. You do have some hidden goals at the end, and that's what these cards are for. These are little cards that some of them are hidden and some of them you buy from the market. And basically, look, I mean, is the iconography any simpler? It's collect white meeples, get 2 points for each one of them. Collect a set of all colored meeples, get 5. I haven't played the game in weeks, and I can tell just from looking at the cards what they are. You know, collect all the same ones and get 5 points. So as you go around the board, and some of the locations actually match up. You'll see like lighthouses or little villages, and they all have the same pictures. And where they do, your monsters can even bounce between them because they're monsters, right?
Yeah.
The last intriguing part of the game is the Caretos. So it would be fun if we were all just moving our monsters around, gathering villagers, but there's no real interaction there. The last part is those Caretos. Oh, no, not this game. Not Florida, man. That one I'm not expecting Dan Thurot to review. But the Caretos that's the legendary creatures. There's 2 of them on the board, and sometimes your card will say that you can move the Caretos. See that blue card there on the upper right-hand corner? That weird symbol you see on there?
Yeah.
That's the Caretos. So on your turn, you get to move the Caretos 2 spaces. Guess what happens if the Caretos runs into other players or villagers and eats them? It either sends your opponent out for a little while, or it makes the villagers disappear. So this is a way to prevent, mom or dad from running up the score on little Johnny. Little Johnny's going to send the Caretos everywhere. So anyway, it's a fun little 1 hour wonder of a type of a game, family friendly with amazing art. And I'll tell you, it's been one of my favorite games we played. I got Jay Bell to play with me, and he had a blast too. He was like, I wasn't expecting much, but this is actually a pretty cool game out there out from Portugal. What do you think, Dan? Any of that sound intriguing to you or Steve?
It does. So I have 2 questions. So first of all, do people lose turns?
Never
Okay,
lose
good.
a turn.
Okay, great.
In fact, here's the cool mechanic that I wish designers would think about. It is okay in a game to make me lose a turn, but give me something else to do. If your monster gets eaten and goes to a board, you can always pay campfire tokens to take it out. Or if someone else gets eaten, they bump your monster back out and back onto the board. Now, how friendly is that?
Okay. Yeah, that's nice. My second question is, what do the colors of meeples represent?
I would say that the colors of the meeple represent the 5 warring factions of Portugal that date back to No, I have no idea. No,
really?
They're just colors.
I was hoping you were being serious. That would have been awesome.
That's not a good hope on the show because that's rarely the case. Rarely the case. Only when my lips are moving can you tell if I'm lying. The colors are just unfortunately in this game they're just colors, just different colors. Five different on there. But to kind of fall on that, the monsters that you see, I've only shown you 2. There are a ton in the game. I want to say they're like 12 or 14 different monsters. So I played the game 3 or 4 times now. And 4 times now, all different player counts, except I haven't played 4, unfortunately, because of COVID. But I played 2 and 3 multiple times, and it's always been different because it just depends on what monsters come out. They each have unique powers. Some of them jump around the board better. Some of them move farther. One of them even moves like the Caretos. This monster, I forgot what her name is, Sally the Lost Soul. Sally can roll through people and send them off the board. So she's sort of like a Caretos, but Caretos, something pretty cool.
Yeah, I would play this. Yeah, it looks interesting.
That is Caretos from Evo Games. Steve, anything?
You had me with the sales pitch, Monsters Inc. in Portugal. I'd be interested in seeing how the actual mechanics and all flow and play, and if if the kids that you play with really do understand that this person's not really being removed from the game, they're just going off to the farm upstate, living with grandma and grandpa for a little while. It seems like it could work.
They're going to the Caretos farm to jump with the rabbits. That's what they're
just
doing.
Going to give a quick reminder for people to keep throwing out some names of cities and stuff. We have some new additions. Joel gave the easy to pronounce Perth, and the harder to pronounce Mamunkukum Purangunja.
in South
Wow.
Australia. So Joel
I
is
didn't
the
even get
designer.
close with that, Joel. I'm sure.
Yeah, he's the designer
Okay.
of Fluttering Souls, Dan. I don't know if you've played Fluttering Souls before, but Joel's from Down Under, and that is a town I'm not quite sure I remember. I'm not sure if he's making this up or not, but I think it's an actual town. Dan?
There's a single phrase in there that I think would preclude me from actually vacationing there, and it comes after the Mamun Kunkum Parang and before the Junya.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we need to be
Mhm.
careful about
And
that.
I don't know if I could sell my family on that one,
Mm-hmm.
but that would make for a heck of an airline ticket.
Hey,
That
so
would go in the scrapbook.
yeah, exactly. That is a cool. Getting the T-shirt. I went to blah 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 blah, and all they bought me was the stupid T-shirt.
Right.
That would be something I'd like to see you wear, Dan.
Thank you. Yeah, I should wear that to a convention.
Kelly says Ketchikan is quirky. Berla says it's a cruise destination. Are you a cruiser, Dan?
Oh, I have been on one cruise. Yeah.
I've only been on one myself. Yeah. And Patrick says it's pretty touristy, but still fun to visit. That sounds like my kind of place to go to. Still touristy. I was told not to go to Mont Saint Michel, on the coast there of Normandy. I think that's the name of the place. I was told it's very touristy. You don't want to go over there. And we had a good time. We had a blast.
I love that town. That town is awesome.
Yep.
I really enjoyed it. We a quick story about it. We drove all day. I speak very little French, not very good, but I've been out in France for 4 or 5 days, so I thought I was getting better at it. But we drove through 782 roundabouts or roundabounds to get to Mont Saint Michel. I was brain dead driving a stick shift, which I hadn't drove in 20 years, through 782 roundabouts. We finally get to the little Airbnb at the base of Mont Saint Michel that we're going to stay a little farmhouse. And I walk into the farmhouse to talk to the lady, and I'm just tired. I can barely speak French, and I can't be tired when I speak French. I got to have my brain totally focused, and I'm struggling in French to describe what I want to do and to check into the hotel. And the lady looks at me, deadpan, straight in the face. She says, in English, wouldn't this be better in English? Wouldn't this be a lot easier in English? I was like, oh, thank God. Because we were in the middle of nowhere in Normandy. And no one spoke any English out there. So,
Is Mont Saint Michel the one that you have to walk over to on the mud flats at low tide?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's it.
Cool.
Gorgeous.
Scarlet Pimpernel.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm trying to see if we have any other places.
Cape Town was and Perth, Australia.
Ooh.
Is this an interesting one to you, Dan?
Lick Skillet. Oh man, no, I've been there.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I haven't heard of it, but I don't know. I don't want to lick it, but I have wanted to go to Perth. That sounds nice.
Perth, Australia.
Well, how about this? If you're offering, Jordan, then I don't see why not. I don't see why you couldn't win this contest.
Yeah, but
you're really going to take me sailing.
You might have to team up with Joel, who actually lives out in the west of Australia, doesn't he? Is Joel in Perth? Joel, if you're still listening, Joel might have to be your guide in that area too.
I can't remember where Joel is from. I don't remember if it's Australia. All right, one more game to talk about. BJ from More Game Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Dan Thurot, and we're talking Spicy Odd Games. We've talked about a lot of details in some games. This is one I think you're going to have to handle, because although I've played the game, it was so out there. I'm not sure I can describe it, Dan, and I'm talking about Cosmic Frog.
Yeah, Jim Felly does some pretty unhinged designs. And oddly enough, this is his most accessible. This is the one this is the closest to mainstream he's done. You play as 2-mile-tall frogs who, when the world ended, are now gobbling up parts of it to put in their gullet and then regurgitate into pocket dimensions to make new worlds. And this is so idiosyncratic, but I love this game. We just played it the other day. Its tabletop simulator module is actually in some ways better than the real thing because it sets it up for you. It's a real pain to set up. It's hilarious. I think this game is comedy gold. I love it. I know that a lot of people don't get along with it quite as well as I did. It's you don't go 5 seconds without luck in this game, which I know luck makes some people break out in hives.
So the first time we played it, we actually bailed on it after a round because it was just so out there. So again, it's just TPS. This is 11:30 at night. It's like, okay, we'll try later. We came back to it and we played. And Dan, we went to the mindset going, okay, there's going to be some crazy stuff that happens. And once we got that in, it actually became fun. You know how you get the special power cards? We traded special power cards so many times that we really couldn't even keep up with what each person's special powers were. And it became fun that way because you might get a kind of junky special power. And then the next round, you've got this amazingly crazy special power and nobody's expecting it. And you're just running roughshod all over the board. At the same time, it's got this really weird theme about giant frogs eating the world and spitting it back out. It's got this board right here. And the board is a spatial puzzle that's really kind of unique and intriguing. I actually had a good time with the spatial puzzle. Did you enjoy that part of it?
Yeah, and it depends how many people you play with. So if you play with a lower count, it really shines. At a higher count, because you can attack other frogs and forcibly destroy their little world to steal its parts for yourself. And so our game that we played the other day was with 6. So the winning score was like 14 or something. And we've seen points up in something like 60. So it can get really nutty with more. If you're already struggling at the sound of all of the chants, I would say don't play this with more than 4 people. But I love it. It is just so wacky.
I have had trouble just even explaining how to play. Each different part is almost like a unique mechanism to the game. The way you put out those tiles, it's this crazy splinter card that comes out, and then everything around it gets destroyed. So slowly, Dan, it's sort of like a timer in the game, right? The board itself gets tighter and tighter, forcing the frogs really to just do battle. Where at the start of the game, we're all in different parts of the board, and there wasn't a lot of player interaction. By round 3 or 4, or whatever the rounds are called, I don't remember. We were literally on top of each other. Literally.
Yeah, and I at first it almost feels like you're going to just not even interact. But as the splinter or the shard or whatever it's called is gradually broken down, you're forced into friction with each other. And how do you do friction? Well, yeah, you can jump on people and punch them, but more importantly, you can kick them into alternate dimensions where they are trapped and they have to fight their way back out of it.
I think that's this part right here where you have to go through these different outer steps to get back on the board.
Okay. Rather than turtles all the way down, this one's frogs all the way down.
Frogs all the way down.
Yeah, all the way down.
Yeah, so Dan's not a big fan of saying things like, if you're into this game, then that, or maybe this game is this or that. And I know you're not, Dan, but this is one of those games I think you almost have a duty as a reviewer to tell people, if you don't like player conflict, if you don't like realizing, you might want to step away. That doesn't mean I don't think it's a good game. I don't like a lot of those things, but I thought Cosmic Frog, at least the second time, was a lot of fun. And this is how I would say it. I'd play it again. It's not like one of these area control games where I play it once to see if I like it. I enjoy the experience. It was a good group. I don't need to play it again like Inish. Don't need to play that again. But Cosmic Frog is a game I would definitely play again.
Yeah, I've played this at least a dozen times, and every time has been hilarious for a different reason. So I see in your chat crew, Topher is asking if someone likes Talisman, would they like this? It's similar in the sense that the game is writing you. There's a lot of luck. I wrote an article actually just talking about how many types of luck this game has, and it's like 6. It's just luck all the way down. So many types of luck. But once you surrender to that, then it kind of evens out. The game we played the other day, you showed those splinters, right? They're like comets hitting you. I got hit by 2 of them, which of course meant I lost the game pretty handily. And that's, it's not the kind of game that you play if you really want to get into the competition and try to win. It's more the game that you jump into and have a zany time. And that's something I would say about Talisman as well, right? You play that because you want to sit around and tell silly jokes with your friends and have goofy stuff happen to you.
Right. It's cosmic, man. You got to lose your hangups. You got to,
I think Dan's right. It's the story of the game that you're going to remember much more. The points that you score it's how the person won the game, not exactly the points they scored. And Nick says the art looks great, and I think Marshall Wells hits it on the head. When we opened up the contents on TTS, it looks like a metal album cover from start to finish. This is like a Rush concept album. I think that's what this game is. It's a Rush concept album. So we've got a couple of other. So that's Cosmic Frog. I don't remember all the particulars. Who's the publisher and who's the designer?
So it was designed by Jim Felly of Devious Weasel Games.
Okay.
So he's both the designer and the publisher. He does his own stuff, probably because they are so idiosyncratic. But yeah, this is his. If you've heard of games like Zimby Mojo or Bemused, and you've been intimidated, somehow Cosmic Frog is his most approachable. Somehow
it is accessible. The rule set was a little tricky to get into, but once we got the first round over and done, we picked up the game. It's going to take a full round to figure out exactly how all these systems work. But I'm going to tell people that even if you're not the biggest fan of luck or not the biggest fan of player conflict, if you go into it with the right frame of mind, you're going to enjoy Cosmic Frog. I did, and I would play it again. So
yeah,
that's what I'll say. All right, it's a board game show. We like to play board games, and I've got my buddy Alex Goldsmith, who finally showed up. We've been waiting for. I couldn't say it with a straight face. Sorry,
no, you couldn't.
I saw you come in. We were just starting Cosmic Frog, and we had just finished the other game, so I wanted to get to those. And
no, it's fine. By the way, I was here well before Cosmic Frog, I might add.
I saw you in there, but I wanted to get Cosmic Frog in and make sure I had the picture of it. And the reason, Dan, I wanted to talk about it is because Cosmic Frog is a game that not a lot of people are talking about on social media at all. And I think people need to experience that game. I really do. Alex, I think you would like this game. I'm telling you. No, I'm being serious. I think you would like to play it once. I don't think you would ever own it.
Alex, keep making that face, and I'll make it the same. I don't think it doesn't feel like an Alex game to me.
It doesn't sound or look like an Alex game. Other than
definitely not a Sean game. It's definitely not
Alex
a Sean game, but I don't know that it's an Alex game either.
It's not an Alex game. And I think that, Dan, I think that's what the point is. I don't think it's a game that fits a certain crowd. I think that people are going to enjoy the experience. What was that game that you and I played, Alex, at the Daxar Con that you had? That was your game of the con 2 years ago, though. Getting on the rocket ship.
We're doomed.
No. Yeah, we're doomed. That's a game that I think when you and I did the review, I said, this is a game at a con, I give it a 4 or 5. In my home collection, I give it a 3. It's just not a game I would play with, every night. I think it's an experience type of game. And Dan, I think Cosmic Frog's that same way. I think you have to have the right group of players who are going to drink some beers and have a good time and mess with each other on the board.
Yeah.
Am I right?
You are absolutely right.
On this show, I'm right, Alex. Off the show, I'm not always right. Hey,
here's the thing. The percentage of games that you dislike is so unbelievably small. It's hard to tell exactly if this is fitting in the vein of, no, it's actually really good, or it's BJ good. Like I don't quite know.
I don't know that I said the game is really, really good, though. I'm not saying that the experience of the game is good. Right. I don't know that Weird Doom is a good game. The experience of playing Weird Doom at a convention with Alex Goldsmith, Dan, do not turn that down. You want to play Weird Doomed with Alex when he's running, because you do a good job of running the game. I played the game where we didn't have an Alex Goldsmith in that game, Weird Doomed, and it wasn't as good. So,
I mean, that's true of any gaming experience.
That's true. Yeah, that is
Alex,
true.
Alex makes it better.
Alex, Dan, Alex.
Hi, Dan.
Nice to meet you, Alex.
Nice to meet
Alex
you.
is joining us because we've had a terrible record of this game, Dan, that we're going to play. And I'm hoping that Alex can continue to bring us luck on this game. It's called the ENVIE game because of Alex's encyclopedic knowledge of games. I think we're gonna have a better chance of winning. Steve, tell Dan and the chat crew, how do we play the ENVIE game?
All right. So we got Dan here who's going to think of a game that would be his ENVIE, the one that he would play right now if he could drop everything and had the right group, had the right time, had the right everything. Could be one that's in his collection. Could be one that he's dying to play. Could be an obscure, Happy Meal game. It could be God knows what. But he's going to have that in his head, and we're going to have to try to ask him questions, a la 20 questions, to figure out what it is. Narrow it down and figure it out. It's a race between the three of us and the chat crew to see who's going to find out what it is first. And the likelihood may well be that Dan stumps us all.
I wouldn't bet.
You got the rules? What's that?
So is this just yes or no, or do I have to?
No, you can, if you want to be hard about it, you can say, well, you're going to have to rephrase that in the form of a yes/no question, or we could, be.
So if you say, I want the publisher, or if you say, I want the game name, like the title.
No, not like that. But they might say, is it, phrase it. You might force them to say, is it a European designer or something along those lines? You can force them into being specific. They can't go fishing. They got to ask.
By the way, Alex, here's your chance to participate. We're doing a contest all during the show. We're giving away a copy of Sprawlopolis, which I think you already have.
Ooh, I don't have. Yeah, I played it. It's fantastic.
Oh, okay. So here's your chance.
Okay.
Sprawlopolis, thanks to Topher, we're giving away a copy of Sprawlopolis and also Turbo Drift, and it comes with an expansion that Dan will help me out with. I always forget the expansion.
I don't know the name. Expansion.
Okay.
The expansion Turbo Drift.
Yeah, it's the ramped up expansion.
Oh,
the ramped up expansion. Yeah, and it's signed by The Rock. No, it's not. But so, Alex,
well, now
all you have to do is name an exotic city and be the one that Dan chooses at the end of the episode to visit. Do you have an exotic city?
Now, question: does this city have to be visitable at this current time, in this current moment, or not so much?
Dan?
No. This has to be a city that I would want to visit under ideal circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dan, I don't know you at all, so that makes it very, very, very difficult. I will throw out. There is when I was traveling, when I was backpacking around the world, I had on my list a lot of countries, and I went to Thailand, I went to Vietnam, I went to Laos, I went to Cambodia, and saw some amazing sites in all of those places. The one that wasn't on my radar before I left the country was Myanmar. And I stopped in a town there called New Bagan. And New Bagan itself is fine as a town, decent enough food, somewhat touristy, stayed in a nice hostel there. But the most breathtaking vistas you'll ever see. It's a sprawling complex of temples. They have a tendency to launch hot air balloons. So you will see quite a few flying over the city. And I'm not a morning person. I cannot get up for sunrises, but I got up for every single sunrise I possibly could on that trip. And I love that place so much that I got it printed on my credit card, a photo that I have. In fact, I'm going to go run and get that photo while you all process all that.
Okay.
What's the name of the town?
It's New Bagan in Myanmar, or Bagan.
Oh,
B-A-G-A-N.
New Bagan. It's that radio show, Dan, where they do the commercials with the singing biscuit ladies and... That's the Garrison Keillor show, right, Alex?
Okay, Alex, you might not want to show the number.
No, hold on.
Oh my God!
Could you turn it around?
So we can see CVC on the back.
There's a 3-digit code that we need you to put on the screen.
Yeah.
Well, if Alex would hold that up a little bit more clearly, we could all finance our trip to New Bagan on his time.
You got to get a visa. You have to get a visa in advance. You got to be careful with that.
Right.
So we have a couple of. I mean, that's an interesting one, Dan. Is that something that moves up the list there? Myanmar and Lake Wobegon days? No.
I am impressed that even though Alex doesn't know me at all, he is the only one who proposed a destination that is at all in my wheelhouse. Somewhere exotic with some history that I can look at things. That's the problem with visiting American cities is Americans have no idea what history is.
Yeah.
Our cities, they go, and something happened here in the Revolutionary War. That was like yesterday.
The arch. That's an old fossil, right? The arch.
Mm-hmm.
Not old
I
enough
was stunned, by the way, to find out that the arch was, I think, built in the 60s.
Oh, right.
Is it that recent?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
So, Marshall, I think St. Louis is out. What about New Orleans? This is home of Alex's favorite sandwich, the po' boy. Have you?
I will confess, I have wanted to go to New Orleans, pretty much for the food.
Right.
And I've heard good things. I had two of my best friends go together, and I was a little bummed that I wasn't able to go. So that's okay. Those are the two. Those are the two.
It is an Eatontown.
Oh, so we
Yeah.
got New Orleans and Myanmar, Charlottesville for the wineries, and there was another place for wineries, Carlsbad, California for wineries.
Yep,
Are you a wine guy?
I have actually never had wine.
Okay. So
So
wineries are out. Fredericksburg. What about Fredericksburg? Well, more wineries, Patrick. That's not going to help us.
1965, by the way, is when the arch was completed. 1965.
wow, that's too recent.
That's what I'm. But I wouldn't have thought before moving here it was anywhere close to that recent. It just feels so iconic and tied into the city. But yeah, it's incredible.
Right.
So Fredericksburg is down near New Braunfels. It's the German area of Texas, down southwest of Austin, between Austin and San Antonio. If you haven't been to that part of Texas, it's unique. It's a German areas with German food, German culture, German music, really cool beer halls. So does that sound interesting at all?
I do like German.
Okay. So we got a couple of places like that. I don't see anything else. All right. So we got a bunch of cities on the list. You're gonna have a tough choice. But let's get back to the game. Let's get to the ENVIE games. So do you understand the rules of the game, Dan?
Yes.
Okay.
That was your first question.
Oh God, now we have 19 questions left. All right. So the second question I have for you is it a competitive or a cooperative game? And I'm going to guess it's competitive. I think you're a competitive kind of guy.
I prefer competitive games. You are correct. And the game I am thinking about is competitive.
Oh, I thought he was going to say the name, Steve. I thought he was going to Ted Alsmacher.
Yeah, you got it right off the bat.
Cosmic Frog.
Oh no.
Oh,
Patrick says
no.
Fredericksburg has the Nimitz Museum and the National Museum of the Pacific War.
Oh,
Patrick, that is all
very
nice
cool.
and dandy. No, skip that. Go to the World War II Museum in New Orleans. Ask Alex. It's amazing.
Oh, okay.
It is amazing. By the way, I found a picture that doesn't involve me compromising my personal information.
That's beautiful.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Good. Very nicely done. All right, Alex, you got a question?
I do have a question. Dan, is this a game that has been released in the last 5 years?
Yes.
Okay.
Ooh, Dan's all about the hotness. We should have known that, Alex. We should have known that. King of the hotness.
Would it be a game designed by someone that most game hobbyists would recognize the name of? Kind of a recognizable name designer?
No. And
No.
to Marshall Wells, I will say yes.
What was
Marshall says historic theme. That does not shock me. That does not shock me. Joel's throwing out a name, Margaret River, or it's a board game. I don't think he's picking the board game.
Incorrect, Joel.
So it's Margaret River. Lots of wineries there. No, Joel, he doesn't want to visit wineries. We're looking for non-winery areas. All right. Okay. So we got a competitive game within the last 5 years, not by a recognizable name. Is it board-based or card-based?
Yes.
He did ask if they had to be yes, no, and apparently the answer to that question is yes.
Oh, he's going to be tough on us. Okay, so the answer is it's got boards and cards. Chat Krewe. Wait. So it's a competitive game in the last 5 years with boards and cards. That narrows it down to about 80,000 games. So we're getting closer.
Yeah.
Alex, you got something?
I do. Is this a game that's based on a popular intellectual property?
Ooh, an IP-based game.
It is not.
But is that because he qualified it as popular?
No.
I would say by the way, I think it's a dumb question because historic theme would probably eliminate the one that I had in mind anyway. The mistake I make with this game is I think of, oh yeah, it's definitely got to be this one that I really want to play, and then I ask based on that, and that happens to us in this game. We get down a road and then we can't get off that highway and take the next exit. Yeah. So Jordan says, does it come in a Ticket to Ride size box?
How big is a Ticket to Ride?
See, Dan likes small box games. I know that about him.
So that is a good observation, BJ. But this is not a small box game, nor is it like a big coffin box. So it is. I wouldn't say it's exactly Ticket to Ride sized, but it is close to there.
Mm-hmm. It's the Rob Rouse standard box size, Steve. Rob Rouse standard box size. So Kelly wants to know, are there dice in the game?
I actually don't know. but given there's a likelihood that
Alex,
there are.
There's a likelihood of dice being in the game, but he's not sure.
I'm not sure.
I think this implies to me. It implies to me a potential legacy game of some kind, perhaps, where you don't necessarily know twists and turns. Maybe not, though.
It is not a legacy game, but that's a good question, Alex.
Some good questions in the chat too. And Topher's asking Kickstarter funded or no?
No.
And Joel is asking if it supports solo play.
You know it, Joel.
Ooh, interesting.
It does. Solo play that may or may not have dice. I'm not sure if he's being cute with us with that question and answer.
Only solo?
I think it has dice.
But he's never rolled them.
Is it only solo, Dan?
No, it is not only solo. Yes, it has dice. I just looked it up.
Jordan does the no cube zone, so he obviously wants to know, are there cubes or not? He can't do it on the show if there's cubes.
Jordan, I'm sorry, but this game has cubes.
See, Alex, he went right to the yes. So he knows there's cubes, but he's not sure if there's dice. I'm stuck on legacy game, but he tells us it's not a legacy. Kelly wants to know, yes or no? Have you played this game? Answer yourself, sir.
No.
Oh, he hasn't played the game.
I actually have a friend who has a COVID setup. He has a porch, an open air thing with space heaters. So we were going to play this game, and then he did something with his wife or something. I don't know. So I have not played this game. I have been very excited about it, but I haven't played it.
Is this a game that you would think of as kind of like a combat war game?
Yes.
Okay.
Did this game come out in 2020?
Yes.
I think I have a guess as to this.
Okay.
Go for it.
But I don't know if it passes the unknown designer part.
Better speaker. The chat will beat you. The chat will snipe you.
Undaunted North Africa?
I have played and reviewed Undaunted North Africa, so it cannot be that, but that is a great guess.
So it wouldn't be the Normandy version, I don't think, Alex, but that's
No. That's not a 2020 release anyway, I'm pretty sure.
2020.
No, that's right. Yeah, that's right. 2020 release. And you've played The Shores of Tripoli already, right, Dan?
I haven't. Apparently it's being shipped to me. But I haven't played that, but I do want to. But no, that's not what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
And Jordan, unfortunately, it is not Imperial Struggle. Although I am a fan of Imperial Struggle.
All right, Chat Krewe, recap. Competitive game. Not a recognizable designer. We're not sure if it has dice, but it definitely has a board. It definitely has cards.
We've confirmed it has dice. He's now confirmed after looking it up it does have dice.
Oh, it does have dice.
2020.
2020
supports solo play and it's combat.
Oh, and it's historical based, you said.
Yes.
Oh, look, we know this game. What historical game came out in 2020? That's the answer to this question. It's so simple.
It is.
I just need you to answer it. What historical game came out in 2020? Let's see. Does it anyway? It does support solo play, so we're not talking anything from Restoration games like the Unmatched games.
Some of
those are
a great question. Is it a coin game?
Yes, it is a coin game.
That is Alex and I's blind spot there.
Yeah,
Me too.
Where is Sean?
At least for new ones.
What has Sean talked about on the show lately? By the way, Alex is from the Dukes of Dice podcast. We keep talking about Alex and Sean's podcast, but
I don't tend to listen as closely to his recent plays as I probably should. So it's very possible he said when he played it.
I actually imagine when he starts talking about the GMT game, Steve, that Alex is got it on mute and he's checking he's doing his checkbook, or he's you know what it is? He's on AOL and he's on one of the bulletin boards and he's downloading some information about some game. PAX Premier is not 2020.
It's not a coin game.
And it's not a coin game.
Although Cole was influenced by the coin series.
Space Court?
I've never heard of Space Court.
It's a running joke on the Dukes of Dice. That's Space Corp, but they call it Space Court as a mispronunciation.
We need another Duke here.
Someone in the chat absolutely recognized it. Jordan is right on the money. Space Court, of course.
Yeah.
Steve, the non-existent game I most want to play.
We invited the wrong Duke tonight, Steve. We invited the wrong Duke.
I apologize. I didn't think it would be so.
No, you just happen to have a collection of us, and it looks like Chat tonight, who might not be big into historical coin combat.
Normally we do have some coin guys out in the chat crew, and I'm not seeing them, and they're not chiming in. So, man.
Am I allowed to cheat and look at all of the coin games released in 2020?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. Watergate's not a coin game, and it was 2019, but that's a good guess, Joel. A favorite of mine, a favorite of Alex's. I think Dan likes it also.
Yeah, I like Watergate. That's a good guess.
Was there a Command and Colors something that came out this year?
Richard Borg, not really a coin. It is a coin game, though, Dan?
The
game I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said it several times.
Yeah, just making sure.
I'll give you another. When I look at coin on the website, I come up with All Bridges Burning.
Alex, you have successfully identified the game.
Yeah, but I wish I deserved literally zero credit.
Man, I always try to kind of at least keep an eye out on these coin games, even though I don't play them, because I have friends that do play them, and I don't know this game. Dan, you got to give us the scoop. What is intriguing you about this game?
So this is the first coin game for 3 players, and it's I believe it's about the Finnish Civil War. So it's the Reds versus the Whites in Finland, I think in 1917 or thereabouts. So it's the only coin game that has released that I haven't played. So
Who are the insurgents? Which group? Do you know?
I actually don't. I haven't even opened it up because our play fell through. So I haven't played it, which is a huge disappointment to me because I love that series.
The closest I've gotten is playing is Root, which is not a coin game, but is an homage to coin games. And then we have this one Pendragon. And we just, every time Bradley opens up the rule book, we just never even get past page 1. It's a pretty intimidating rule book, man.
And honestly, that's the toughest one to learn and play.
So what should we start? If we wanted to play a coin game, because I know Alex is dying to put one in his repertoire. What game should we start out with?
The simplest entry point is Cuba Libre.
Yeah.
That one's pretty easy to learn and play. Even some of the other ones like A Distant Plane isn't so bad. I would probably start with one of those.
When I hear Cuba Libre, Steve, every time I hear it, I think of Get Shorty, because the writer of Get Shorty wrote a book called Cuba Libre, and so every time I think, I was like, "What is this, a novel? What are they playing?" At least I think that's
isn't it a drink?
It is.
Is it?
It's a rum and coke, I think.
Okay.
Oh, is it rum and coke? A Cuba Libre.
I think that's what a Cuba Libre is.
Well, Alex, we knew we had you on for a reason because of your Google skills.
Alex Googlesmith with the win.
Alex Googlesmith with the big win on the ENVIE. Are we counting that as
a win for that? There is no credit given. We were all absolutely stumped.
That's true. Kevin was close though. Kevin was very close. If you put Kevin's.
Verla mentioned something, that she has no clue with the coin game. We do have a couple of people from the Gateway and Filler Games group on Facebook that haven't played coin games before. Maybe Dan, just give them a quick overview on what a coin game is, if they're something that might be interesting to them.
So COIN stands for counterinsurgency. They are designed to be about asymmetrical modern warfare. So you have a government, and the government is the one with the tanks and the planes and the police forces. But that's not how modern war works anymore, right? You don't have 2 big armies that go slug it out. You have a big army that occupies, and then you have insurgents who blow up buildings and glue pamphlets to walls and things like that. So they're games that are designed to simulate that kind of warfare between very unlevel playing fields. It was designed by Volko Runke, who has a huge history in the war game arena, and his whole goal was to do that. And this new one, All Bridges Burning, is the 10th volume, so it's had a lot of success.
So, thinking back to the root game, that's like the cats, running all over the board, and then you've got, I forgot which the ones that run around, the little mice that they.
Yeah, the Woodland Alliance.
The Woodland Alliance, that's it. They
Yeah.
broadcast the news about how bad the cats are and try to start up a little riot in each of the little villages on Root. Alex, I can't remember, have you played Root yet?
I played Root. Yeah, we reviewed it on the show. Yeah, I played Root.
All right. Just making sure.
So Root, as you may know, is in part inspired by the coin series. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. All right, Alex, I'm going to send you and Steve back down to the green room. I'm going to count that as a win because the chat crew didn't get it before us, and they have Google. We don't know if they're honest or not, but I'm going to count it as a win tonight, or at least a draw. Alex, can we count it as a draw?
No,
he's not even counting.
Nobody wins.
No, I think
wins.
I'm with Alex. Oh, well, the one who wins is Dan.
Oh yeah, that too. Yes, sorry, Dan won.
I would give it to Jordan because he identified it as a coin game.
He was as close to a win as we got, I think. Yeah, definitely.
And then so I'll send you two down, and then Dan's going to make the big announcement.
There we go.
Who is winning the send Dan to an exotic city like Omaha or St. Louis or Galveston. We had a lot of choices here. Some tough choices. Thanks, Alex, and I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Hey, Cosmic Frog, let's set it up on TTS.
No.
All right, Steve, I'm going to send you back down. So, all right, Dan, this is the big moment. We played ENVIE. Thank you for playing ENVIE and being gracious to giving Jordan the win tonight. I think you're right. I think Jordan was the closest to it. Adam was around there. He said Fire in the Lake, which is close, but I don't think it's
that's close.
Yeah, but I don't think it's 2020. I think it came out a couple of years ago, right? Fire in the Lake?
Yeah, Fire in the Lake was, what is that, volume 4 or something?
Yeah, but he was close. He was around there. So, all right. So you've had a lot of choices. Who is the big winner of the Send Dan to an Exotic City contest tonight?
Okay.
Oh wait, you want to run down?
Sure. Can I get the rundown without any names attached? I don't want to have name bias.
No names, Verla. Just give us the rundown of the names that you have. You know what? I think we're closing the contest, Topher, so we're not sending Dan to Fresno. No NoCal. Maybe beautiful SoCal, but we're not going to NoCal. Sorry, Topher. All right, so what do we have? Where is Verla? Verla's not in the room. I thought she was just going to type them out for us. She's been keeping track of a list on them.
Oh, okay. Maybe the names were attached, and then I had my unreasonable demand.
Yeah, I don't see Verla in the green room, so she's just going to have to. We'll have to see if she's typing them out or not. All right. So Dan, from memory, you'll have to pull it.
Well, then I am going to say. Oh, here we go.
Omaha, Galveston, St. Long, Godibo, Ketchikan, Paris, Cape Town, Perth, Lake Skillet, Alabama.
I am going to go to Ketchikan.
Wow, Ketchikan. What made that your choice, Dan?
I wanted to go to something not in the at least lower 48. And I've always wanted to go to Alaska. I think that would be a good time.
Ketchikan, Alaska. Oh, we did have the Myanmar City, New Orleans, St. Louis, Charlottesville, and Carlsbad. And that rounds out your choices.
Well, I'll go to Alaska.
Alaska's number one. Number two would be?
I think it would probably be New Orleans.
New Orleans, really? Very nice. All right, so Kelly's the big winner tonight of the Sprawlopolis and Drift. Not Tokyo Drift. I keep wanting to say Tokyo. Turbo Drift with the expansion. Thank you, Topher, for doing that for us. That was super cool of him to give us that. And thank you, Dan, for coming on the show to play the ENVIE game and to talk about some of these board games with us. So the board game portion of the show, of course, brought to us by our playing cards over there at the Board Game Gumbo Game Crafter page. It's only $15 and you get a copy of Blu-ray with the instructions right in there. Dan, have you ever played Blu-ray? Are you a trick-taking kind of guy?
I have not played it. I didn't grow up playing trick takers. My wife did, and so whenever we play, she just demolishes me. So no, I haven't. No, I've never played it.
It's just a 5-card trick game, and you play with money, so it does kind of get pretty evil. But a lot of fun. Blu-ray. If you ever get a chance, you can get a copy right there on the Game Crafter on there. All right, board gamers, that's it for another episode of Gumbo Live. Hey, Dan, if people want to know more about you or the writing that you do, and by the way, I don't think we even said it tonight, I'm a huge fan, as you probably figured out by now. I love every time you post. I have you on the email, so it pops up at 4 in the morning, and I can see that you're staying up all night to type these things because I get my email notifications at like 2 or 3 in the morning sometimes.
Yeah.
How can people find you?
If you go to space-biff.com, I am also at Dan Thurot. That's how you spell it, Thurot, on Twitter, and that's where you find me.
And space-biff is with a dash and with an exclamation point. Space and of course a picture of St. Thomas Aquinas right there staring at you when you log onto the site. And is that right? space-biff.com?
That is it. Yeah.
And you'll see all of the things. You can sign up on the email list and get notified whenever your new reviews come out. You also do something that I have not been consistent about doing it just because I hate it. You post your reviews to BGG, and God love you for doing that because I don't know how you take the time to post photos to BGG. It is the most cumbersome. I love BGG, but not that aspect of it. It is so cumbersome.
It is a pain. They need to, and especially the reviews. I have a template that I have to paste in, and then all the photos I uploaded, I have to go in and take their, special secret number and then paste it into it's a big pain in the butt.
Listen, I use Google Drive and Word, whatever it is, WordPress. And it's so easy. I type out my review. I throw the pictures in Google Drive. I upload it. It seamlessly integrates with Word. What's the matter with me? Word, whatever it's called, WordPress. Seamlessly uploads the pictures. Everything's formatted. And then I, decide, maybe this one review I'm going to post to BGG again like I used to do. And I just get so frustrated every time. I admire people like you, my buddy Eric Yurko, that can take the time to post pictures to BGG because it is not something I'm willing to do. Okay, so if people want to find you, they can find you right there at spacebiff.com or on Twitter right there. Make sure to like our Facebook page, facebook.com/BoardGameGumbo, and our YouTube channel. It helps us to get the word out about all of our upcoming shows, including next week, we've got a game designer coming in, Grant Lyon, who designed Curmudgeon. He's also a Comedy Central comic, and the owner of 25th Century Games, Chad Elkins. They're going to be coming in to talk about Curmudgeon and also just to talk about some games. And I am BJ from Board Game Gumbo, Dan. And until next time, laissez le bon temps rouler. Find